Hey, it's Ben from ZOAR Fitness, and I'm going to be going over using templates for a open athletes in this case. This is part 2 of 3 in the series. If you haven't watched the first video yet, it's a really good intro of templates and using templates to actually create someone's training plan. So I do it for a general fitness athlete or GPP athlete, and it's really just a pretty basic plan and allows you to see how this process can be used. And so this is going to be just kind of the next level up of that, just slightly more complicated. And then the final video is going to be sort of the most complicated version. So I'm not going to go over all the details that I did in the first video. And this one, I'm going to kind of assume people have watched that one already. So let's jump into this athlete and see what their needs are, what their training priorities are, and then what kind of schedule they're going to have so that we can actually build their template. So once again, this is just a made up person. This person is Lauren. She's age 28. She's been a lifelong athlete where she's training basically her entire life, maybe since like she was a little kid doing sports and things her entire time. However, she's been training functionally for the last 3.5 years. So maybe she joined a CrossFit gym 3.5 years ago, and she decided to compete for the first time a year and a half ago. So she's relatively new to competing. However, she's definitely not new to training in the competing process, even though she's new to competing in this particular sport. So that's the athlete. Her goals are to podium at local comps, which for her, again, like seeing what she needs to work on and understanding this, like, okay, that's a realistic goal. I'm going to assume that these are realistic goals. And then in the spring, when she actually does the open or the winter spring, she wants to place in the top 10,000. So that's the goal. And to become the best athlete possible while balancing work life. Okay. So the things that we need to work on with her, number one, since we're in competition prep and that's the kind of year that we're in, we're going to be doing support touches. That's number one of the top priorities here is that we're getting in Metcons of couplets and triplets and, the occasional chipper and that sort of thing a lot more often. We're going to be doing gymnastics that are more so skill based. So like the sport gymnastics version. So like kipping chest to bar, kipping toes to bar, bar muscle up, bring muscle up, those gymnastics under fatigue is the big thing. So that might start to break down when she's under fatigue. And she's preparing for a local comp. So there's a few things that we know based on this local comp. Again, this is all made up, but saying that maybe there was a D-ball involved in previous years, that there was a berm. So like a series of boxes that they're going over, or like a makeshift wall that they're using, and that they were using rope climbs, and that they could do air runners. And those are all things that she wouldn't be exposed to in open setting, but she would get exposed to in this particular local comp. And then she wants to maintain her weightlifting skill as she's been developing over the last several years. She's going to the gym 5 times a week, and Thursday and Sunday, the typical split those are her recovery days. So let's head over to her training sheet and check it out. So here, the first thing you'll notice is different from video one is that we're implementing a biphasic week. So it's a 2-week template. So there'll be an A week and a B week. So what that allows for is for us to get more training priorities in a given week. So if we go back to this GPP athlete, you'll see that there's only 1 week. So these are our priorities, and they're going to stay consistent week over week. Whereas if let's just say that someone, if we go back over to here, back squatted on Monday to a near max. And if you ask them to do that again the next Monday, because the template is only 1 week, that's going to be very draining, especially if you're doing like maybe it's like Tuesday, you're doing energy systems training and you're doing really hard assault bike intervals, and you ask that person to do that again right away on the next Tuesday. Just mentally and emotionally, that's extremely challenging to do week over week and to continue to progress. So by implementing a like this 2-week template allows for not just more training priorities where you can get in literally more touches of different things, but it also allows, just a little bit more stability and a longer term plan. So for a lot of CrossFit competitors specifically, I like using this. The other thing that's super helpful about this is that when I program an entire week, say that I program week or an A week, it allows that person to actually execute and fill in and get results on their training and to give me feedback on it before I program that A week the next time. So they'll be executing the B week when I look back 2 weeks ago to see their previous A week. that I can program their current A-week. So it always allows me to see what they actually were able to do on their previous blocks before, or the previous training sessions and days before programming their new stuff. So those are the main reasons I use this 2-week template. So anyway, let's jump into it. Hopefully it makes sense once we get into it. So again, for here, you'll see that there's A-week, B-week, A-week, B-week. They go back and forth. And for this particular athlete, orange is signifying competition prep, and they're deloading half the week, but they're doing it twice as often now, compared to the other person where it's like a traditional 3 weeks on, 1 week off. This is, you're just seeing it's a Thursday through Sunday deload, but we're doing it more often. And oftentimes that's just because like, this local competition's here and we have this odd number of weeks where I don't want to go like 4 weeks in a row and then 2 weeks are on and then you're off again already. So it just allows for a little bit more, like the time to just, it just makes more sense practically in this case. And some people just like mentally like this better than others. I'm a personal fan of deloading, maybe less extreme, but more often in my personal programming. So then obviously the week of, we're going to be tapering down, and then it's a Saturday, Sunday competition. And then, yeah, taking some off time and going back into a limiter phase after that. So let's get into the template itself. So top priorities here, sport touches. So we have weightlifting, we have gymnastics, we have sport touches. So I'm actually going to save some of the sport touches for the end. I'm going to think about weightlifting and gymnastics first here. So let's say we're going to put in, so like a muscle up, not a progression, but like an interval progression, which is a very different thing here. Tuesday, we're going to do snatch and back squats just as maintenance strength work. Again, Thursday's their recovery day, and that'll be the same thing on the other week. And then Sunday is rest and rest. So that being said, Saturday, I really want to reserve for sport touches, which in like the protocol, we use the name game. Its exact idea is that it's like tailored to sport, where you do the entire session, warm up to cool down, like you were doing an open style workout or a local comp style workout. So it's very specific. And that's really the only thing that we're going to be doing on those particular days. So looking at that, we did stuff here. We'll probably do some inverted gymnastics on these days. So that could be handstand push-ups and handstand walks. And likely that would be something where, it's hard to know for this particular athlete because it's not actually someone I have, but let's just say that we were coming off a progression where they were doing skill work in a limiter phase, and they were doing more interval-based work on a like an unfatigued interval work, where you're starting to build density in a transitional phase. And then maybe here it's more so fatigued interval work. So actually maybe somewhat similar to this, but instead of muscle ups, it's handstand walks or something like that. Friday, I want to hit some more weightlifting work again. So this could be clean and jerk here, and then some secondary pulls. So pulls could be, even could be snatch, grip, deadlift. It could be clean high pulls, a number of different things, but think of it as a heavy hinge that is relative to weightlifting work. What else are we hitting here? Oh yes, these movements here, something that I need to add in. So thinking about how we can, so this is the berm work could be a lot like a burpee or a box jump over. Both of those things would tie into that well. A D ball is going to be pretty typically heavy on like low back, posterior chain, as well as air runner. And then rope climb is much more like a gymnastics element. So let's take the rope climbs here first. We'll put in the rope climbs after we do the upper body pulls. And so this is going to be in a Metcon. However, we just got to make sure that when you program whatever Saturday, that it's, is complementary to whatever you're programming on Friday here. And this is where it's helpful. After we do something like this, we could throw in D-ball skill practice, on this day, box/berm skill work, right? So you're again, box and berm are very similar skill sets. However, it's just the one involves a little bit more setup, and it's still something that you could translate like a burpee box jump over, especially if it was like a 40-inch box, to a berm, and it's going to be very similar, or a wall. All right, we need air runner yet. So we haven't done a whole lot of conditioning. So on this Wednesday before the rest day, I would say we're probably going to do. So here, since we did muscle ups here, we haven't done any other upper body pulling yet. I'd probably say like hanging gymnastics, which could be chest to bar, toes to bar, bar muscle up, ring muscle up, or and like erg. And this is just going to be like a longer Metcon. And I might word that anyway, I feel like. But yep, rope climbs. Okay, so if we think about this is comp prep, and we're going to see a lot of different movements. What movements maybe haven't we seen yet? So we haven't seen like burpees or double unders or wall balls, and these are some of the things that we have to be thinking about. We want to get as many of these movements as we can. We don't have to necessarily always specifically write it because, like for example, on sport programming, that could be anything, right? Like it could be a 1 rep max snatch, or it could be a 20 minutes of burpees and rowing and wall balls. Like it really is completely open-ended. That's one of the good things about this. It just is a matter of looking back at the programming and seeing what they've hit before that's, maybe hasn't been touched on in a while. So for examples here, we did so this is a great example of where on week 1, we did weightlifting here and here. So Tuesday, Friday, we did weightlifting. So I'm probably going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just make it a little bit more touches of the weightlifting on week 2. And that's one of the ways, instead of having it be, 2 times a week or 3 times a week, this can be like the equivalent of 2.5 times per week. You're getting these touches. So then this B week, we might do snatch to start off. And then we might do something like overhead squat, which is very similar, but different in an interval format. So they're maybe doing fatigue snatch, right? And then we know we haven't hit like double unders yet. And then we're going to do plus other in a Metcon format. And then sport touches, gymnastics, skill under fatigue. That's one of the big things. And this is exactly how the process will be. It's very sloppy. It's something where I might write this and then change it again and rewrite it. This is probably the most sloppy process of the whole thing, is creating the template and making sure that all your priorities fit into this and that everything works, and cross-checking to make sure you didn't miss any movements, or that you're hitting the training priorities that person particularly needs. So here we're going to do like an air runner, something where it's a little bit shorter and higher power output. I might call that a burner tester, or yeah. And then this is where I'm going to move it more upper body now. So I'll do some ring muscle up. So I'm going to actually make this one up here, then bar muscle up. Ring muscle up in broken Metcon. Low interference. So I'm literally like writing myself notes in this case as to what I want or what I don't want. So in other words, I'm doing a broken Metcon. So it's like something where you're coming back over, many rounds. However, you're getting short breaks that are built into this. And then, so maybe it's like, 10 bar facing burpees, rest 20 or 30 seconds, 10, cows in the rower, rest 20 or 30 seconds, 5 ring muscle ups, rest 20 or 30 seconds, where there's some auto regulation built into it. Um, and that's just an example. I'm not saying that's what I exactly do, but it allows me to figure out what moves I would want. And technically, rowing might not be a great example of that because that would actually involve quite a bit of interference, where the biceps are involved and lats are involved in the rowing, but they're also involved in, the ring muscle ups. So might not be the best example, but just think about it that way. So here I want the clean jerk again. And then let's have them do like some barbell cycling practice after that. And that doesn't necessarily have to be clean and jerk still. It could be snatch or overhead squat or a different variation of that, or it could be like a hang squat clean or something. Burpee plus erg conditioning. And on the erg, it would not be the air runner because I did that the day before. So once again, here we're going to do snatch. We'll say that's the less consistent of their two lists. We're going to give them a little bit more practice of that throughout the course of the 2 weeks. And then they're going to do a rope climb. We'll do a Metcon with rope climbs. We're going to make this a couplet. Cool. And air bike. Cool. So this is just an example, but now you can really start to see what this programming would look like across their 2 week, course of 2 weeks for them. So if we just take one day and program it out. So let's say I'm going to skip programming their warm-ups and their movement prep, although that certainly would be programmed in this, but I'm just going to be doing this from the template itself and not adding anything else. So a bar muscle up interval progression could be something along the lines of, let's say, where they're doing maybe 3 to 5 sets, and it's a 1K air bike at their 10-minute time trial. Wattage. So that would be, 1K would take less than 2 minutes for this athlete. So that wouldn't be too terribly, but their breathing would certainly be elevated and their legs would start to be burning a little bit. However, it doesn't have a lot of upper body action going on. So they'll get a short rest transition period, allow them to blow off some CO2 if they need to, and then they'll go into maybe 8. And assuming I'm just knowing this athlete and this is something that would be appropriate for them, 8 unbroken bar muscle ups. And then rest, I'll say 7 out of 10 recovery. All right. So that'd be that. And then afterwards, they're going to go into some D-ball skill practice, assuming they haven't had a lot of exposure to the D-ball. We can say like B is D-ball lap to stand. 6 singles, 100 pounds. So they're lapping the D-ball, standing it up just upright, and then dropping it from there, re-grabbing and going again, just working on the skill of actually picking it up, lapping it, which is certainly a skill. And then just standing up, which is a little bit more posterior chain action. And then we might go into D-ball over the shoulder, let's say 6x2, where they're going, 1 over the left, 1 over the right shoulder, 100 pounds again. And we could give them some notes like, focus on generating speed with the hips, right? Assuming that I've talked to them and that's a cue that they understand and that, works for them. And then maybe after that, I have them do a quick interval piece where it's a three rounds, rest 2 minutes between. This is kind of like their finisher of the day, where it's a 50-foot handstand walk and a 200-foot D-ball carry. Yep. And then I might have them go into some mobility or something after that, but that would be the actual built off the program for that particular day. And then I would just continue to go through for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the way through. And then I would, again, when I go to BiWeek, I'm going to go off the BiWeek template. It's pretty simple. So that's just an example of how I would build that out for that particular athlete and how that would fit into their week. The other thing that I really like about this particular layout is that if you look at the week of November 2nd right here, their deload is on a B week, and then the next time they deload is on A week. Whereas if I go back to like my GPP athlete, they're going to deload. Well, they don't have an A and a B week, but say they did, right? This would be A week, and this would be back to an A week again. So they're maybe missing that A week or missing it, or it's not like as intense as it could be on the exact same, priorities in their training. So this allows for getting a deload in both of those 2 different weeks. So that's one of the reasons why I really like using this particular variation for deloading. Anyway, that is our second video. That was our open athlete. They're doing 1 session per day, 5 days per week, with a recovery day built into that as well. So technically 6. But yeah, let me know if you have questions on this specific one. The other thing that you can see is that this is how many weeks they have out from competition. And then our final person, it's going to be all these elements. So the A and the B week, the weeks out from competition, but they're going to be a limiter phase. And it's going to be, not just this many, like 5 or 6 sessions per week. It's going to be close to double that. So someone who's maybe a higher level athlete or just has more time and energy and adaptation currency, where they can actually, put that time into getting more sessions into particular weeks, and how you navigate that, both the AM and PM sessions, or AM, noon, PM sessions potentially. So check out part 3 of this video. Yeah, let me know if you got any questions.